Now this is a little crazy, but we did it all the same. This maps out the urban poverty lines for urban and rural across from, literally from the beginning of the debate. This is Dandekar and Rath here, okay? 72, 73, early, those of us who've been sort of around in this game for a long time. That's a Lakawala Committee report. There's Tendulkar, and you can see this. Secular decline, 56% in that period, down to 37%, and then Tendulkar sort of moved it up. Rangarajan corrected it to 30%. But the interesting thing to note is first, there's decline, obviously, and this is only head count, fine? This is only head count ratios. And the urban, of course, is better than the rural. But the more interesting thing is, what we've tried to plot here is regional development. So this is the northern region, this block that you see here in greens, Delhi, Haryana, Himachal, Punjab, Uttarakhand, and Uttar Pradesh. And you can see, obviously, the difference between Delhi and UP. And you can look at that trend that you see here. Look at this differential that you're seeing as far as that's concerned. UP has moved up a little bit. All that we're trying to say is that they are important clusters of poverty which have not actually changed, and other things that have changed quite dramatically. By visualizing this in long time series, we're able to get a fairly interesting handle on what the core questions could be. But of course, this needs to be drilled down even further when you start doing this at city level within states, which of course is a little difficult to do just now because we don't have the data, and the new economic censuses are relatively recent. This gives you a long series of what's actually happening here. Part of the debate that's, I think, quite active at the current point of time is how adequate is a headcount ratio or calorie-based poverty as far as urban areas are concerned. And I think our position is quite clear. This is a very limited way of looking at it, but it does give you a sense, irrespective of multidimensional poverty, that there's a serious problem here. And it's not going away. I mean, it's not going away over a 40-year time period. And you can see why it's not going away. There are structural challenges within the economy, and some things are growing more than others. Keep going. So when you start looking at what actually is happening, this is a breakdown of between 1999 and 2011 of consumption expenditure. This is NSS data. So the blues here are basically food. So these are essential foods. So in a sense, things that PDS, etc. supports, and these are non-essential foods. So this is the food, non-food line that you see running across here. And these are deciles. So this is taking the entire population and breaking them up into consumption expenditure deciles. Obviously, you can see this is an Engel's law impact that as you become richer or you consume more, the proportion of food expenditure actually declines. But the interesting thing as far as we're concerned is that some items, especially education, and of course in urban areas because of the linkage to oil prices and a whole range of things, and conveyance are proportionally growing quite strongly. And this in some senses is the reason that one needs to build out a case for a much more multidimensional, much more holistic sort of proportion of sort of definition or engagement with poverty. So if you're looking here at large cities, for example, and I'm looking at education, you see that education actually is a pretty significant component of expenditure, in some cases higher than medical expenditure, given whatever limitations the census actually has. Next slide. So there's an ability to drill down to that. If you start looking at it by social groups, this is SC, this is ST, this is OBCs, and this is everybody else. And you can see, relatively clear sort of differentials as you go up the income deciles, the consumption deciles, sorry, not income deciles. Keep going. Similarly, as far as communities are concerned, you can see for example, much stronger concentration of in urban areas of Muslim populations, in particular, sort of lower deciles. Let's keep going. Okay, now that's the overall national pattern. But then when you start actually drilling down at city level, which is stuff that interests us, this is a proxy that some colleagues and other people maybe in the hall have worked out. We were trying to look at a linkage, a proxy linkage between housing quality, service quality, and a wealth index. You see that different cities here have different sort of dimensions of this. There are different balances that are there. Delhi, for example, has much better sort of quality of services, but in terms of housing quality, it's not doing very well compared to Bangalore. And the proxy wealth index, of course, of Bangalore is somewhat similar to that of Delhi. So basically what we're saying is as we get into analysis at the city level, we get much better understanding what's happening. This is a similar but different plot looking at within cities and at ward level, how these indexes work itself out. So this is a median line for Delhi, and you can see a tremendous scatter. So, obviously the areas in New Delhi are somewhere all the way up there, and you have a number of informal settlement people who've been multiply replaced sitting at the bottom here. And you get a sense of the growing inequality, especially in the cities that are growing quite quickly. Bangalore, Hyderabad, as different from Kolkata. Those of us who know Kolkata, you see Kolkata is actually much closer clustered. The effective Ginis are much lower than there. Chennai also growing quite healthy. So those are, in a sense, I would say the upmarket areas vis-a-vis the other areas that are there. Delhi has a sort of particular challenge as far as it's concerned. So what I'm saying is, we have the ability to actually drill down and look at both intercity and intra-city variability, and that helps us understand what's happening as the caste census, etc., play themselves out, and this data becomes more available. It gives us a much better handle on getting this thing going. Keep moving. Okay. Similarly, similar maps. One of Bangalore, looking again at multidimensional quality of so this female literacy, quality of roof, assets, number of room, etc. We use the multidimensional index, and you can see considerable variations, and in a sense, the emergence of sub-cities in some cases. This is work that some of my colleagues have worked on. This is the paper that came out, I think, in EPW not so long ago. So you can see actual differentiation taking place. Some areas are much better off than others, and that pattern, which we think is actually quite balanced, is much more nuanced. And city administrators, people who work with poor communities, understand this quite well. And again, this is at the ward level. When you actually go down the ground and look at particular streets, you see a much more differentiated pattern. So we need a way of trying to be able to understand this at a much more organized level. Keep going.